Hello, Harlem. I am Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. And as many of you know, Harlem Network News is a new media platform. We started at the onset of COVID, and we are still here. We had been thinking about starting a network for some time. My background is in film and television. However, when COVID hit, we had to jump in the deep water and just swim because folks were walking around Harlem and they were referring to COVID and saying, I'm Black, I can't get it. And the reason that they thought that is that they did not see themselves. They did not see their images on television. And it was only when body bags were piling up and all of the funeral parlors were overwrought that they begin to realize that they were impacted also. So we got started right away. We started 3 years ago, actually on Resurrection Sunday, very befitting. And we really had a lot of Harlem public officials, doctors, people that folks could trust to begin the process. And we have continued because often major media does not cover our stories or they don't get it right. And it can be a matter of life. So here we are. And we also know that knowledge is power. You could say, is the message the media, or is the media the message? But we are the voice and the drumbeat of Harlem. So thank you for joining us. I just want to give prayers to all those who have lost their lives, many to COVID, to gunshot. And today we did celebrate the homegoing of one of our iconic Harlem photographers. And that is in the person of Kwame Braithwaite. The funeral was at the Abyssinian Baptist Church, and many of our really cultural pioneers attended. We had Dr. Jeffries and Dr. Jeffries. We had Reverend Daughtry, Adamola, Oji Bafola, Bob Law, Bernardo Ruby. So many people spoke on his behalf. And then we went to, which I hadn't been, to the Sugar Hill Children's Museum for the repast, which is a beautiful open space. But segueing, today we have the beautiful, the iconic Lady Altovise, who does Harlem tours and much more. And I believe has been doing Harlem tours for about 20 years plus. So Lady Altovise, please let us know who you are and whose you are. Thank you.
Hello, I'm elated to be here. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Lady Altovise. You probably have seen me walking through the streets of Harlem, just trying to get this history, trying to make sure the world knows who we are and what we have contributed to society, because sometimes it's questioned, sometimes it's doubted, and sometimes it's challenged. And I have to supply these people with facts and proof and evidence by websites and books and movies and poems and anything I can to make sure when this conversation happens at your dinner table, you are well equipped to have the conversation thoroughly.
Okay, well, I love it. And that's very empowering, and it's very interesting. I know that you want to share a little bit. What is the name of your tour company? What do you call your tours? How long have you been doing it? And what is unique about your tours?
Well, my tour company is entitled Lady Altovise NYC Tours, and that is my name. I started being a tour guide on a whim. I got an opportunity to win a round trip to Egypt with my son.
Okay.
So it was a contest. So I basically entered a contest, but I do have a master's degree in theater. So I basically just utilize all of my skills in a performing arts arena because the stage is New York City. The history is
Absolutely.
my script and I have an audience. So
Okay. I
so
love
I
it. Mhm.
yeah, I decided to go ahead and venture out into the world of tourism because the tours I was taking were very bland. And I felt that me as a showman, me as an entertainer, I sing, I
Mhm.
dance, I act, I'm a quadruple threat. So
All
I
right,
figured I
go for it.
why not jump at the opportunity? And that's what sets me apart. Some of the tours will incorporate visual arts and they will incorporate audio. Well, I sing or I will do the actual choreography or I will recite the poem. So I
Mhm.
bring the art to you in a performance. So that's what sets me apart.
Okay. And I understand or overstand, and this is Harlem Network News for those of you who are just joining us. And I'm here with Lady Altovise of Lady Altovise Tours. And Lady Altovise, I believe you primarily do Harlem tours. Do you do other NYC tours? And I believe you're licensed with the tourist board. So share a little bit about that, please.
Yes, that's why I decided to name my business Lady Altovise NYC Tours because I do specialize in New York City, but I
Okay.
do have a license for the whole entire state of New York. So we might do some bird watching at the Palisades. We could
Okay.
go up and do some wine tours up in the
Loving it,
northern
loving
part
it.
of the state. I started out as a tour guide on the double-decker buses. So in order for you to be a tour guide on the double-decker buses, you must be licensed, which means you have to pass the test. And that test could cover everything from Yankee stats to Native American history to
Wow.
architecture to Puerto Rican food to fashion row, you name it. So you have to be in love with New York City to be a tour guide. And I must say, I was bit by the bug as soon as I stepped into this place in 97.
Okay. So just share a little bit because are you a native New Yorker or a native Harlemite? Share a little bit about that and how you evolved and became.
I love to say this Southern Belle took a big bite out of the Big Apple. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee originally, and born and raised. And then I attended the Tennessee State University
All
in
right.
Nashville, Tennessee, and I graduated with my bachelor's in performance art. I am the first graduate of the dance department and music and voice. And then I came to New York and pursued my master's in theater. So I attended AMDA, the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, with some classes at the New School, as well as Tisch. So I just hit the ground running. I could not wait to get to New York. I was studying Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston and Billie Holiday. And when I found out those people were not fiction, I lived most of my childhood thinking they were like Peter Pan. I
Okay.
thought they were
Okay.
fiction.
Yeah. I love what you're sharing in terms of the mix of history and Harlem. And the
Yeah,
fact that you were thinking these were fictitious characters and really these are real places, from the Cotton Club on to the
yeah,
Apollo Theater. So there's a lot of rich history and New York City, even for those of us who live here, the city, as they say, never sleeps. And then there just is always more to see, more to know. Folks can come from other places and tell you about things that you don't know. But
right.
this is Harlem Network News. I'm Terri Wisdom. And once again, I'm here with Lady Altovise of Lady Altovise Tours. She does tours all over New York City. She's licensed to do them in New York State, but her focus, all eyes on Harlem. So tell us, I heard when I was doing my research and finding out more about you and what you do, there was something that you said that struck me, and I probably can't say it the way that you did, but you shared that New York City, next to wherever had the most slaves ever.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
yes.
so that caught me. So if you could share a little bit about that and why that made you really want to share about this Harlem that is
Yeah,
known all over the world.
I decided to basically just swim in Black history. So that's my lane. So
Okay.
if we were there, if we did it, if we contributed in any shape, form, or fashion, that's my interest. So when I focused on New York City in particular, I found out we all know about Charleston, we all know about the South, but very little history is known about slavery in New York. And I could not believe it when I found out that New York was second, not Mississippi, not Kentucky, not Georgia. New York was second. In the 1800s, 1 in 5 New Yorkers was an enslaved African.
Wow.
1 in every 2 households was benefiting from free slave labor, all the way up until 1827. So from the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, New York City is number 2 behind Charleston as far as slave auctions. There was a slave market in New York City. If you go to Pier 15, right
Okay.
there where the South Street Seaport is, the next pier was Pier 13.
Hmm.
13. That was the
13.
pier for the slave ships.
13.
Yep,
13.
we got a brand new
Wow.
sign about 4 years ago
Mhm.
that commemorates where all of the slave auctions and the slave market, slaves literally, well, I should say, enslaved Africans
Yes,
were literally traded
correct.
on the New York Stock Exchange. Instead of having a credit
Woo.
card, slave owners had us for
Wow.
credit and collateral.
Wow. Wow.
Tell me I'm not valuable. Tell me I'm
No,
worth.
you're valuable, and that's what I love about Harlem Network News and the interviews we do, because even if I know the person well, there's always something that I learn, and we got to be lifetime learners, you know.
Yeah,
So that's very,
absolutely.
very powerful. Now, who are your constituents? Who are the
My
people that?
constituents are mostly from the Airbnbs in
Okay.
Harlem
Mhm.
and the hotels. I have developed very prosperous relationships with the hotels, and I have a couple of freelance artists that will send me people. And like, say, if someone is interested in, I don't know, fashion, I'll send
Okay.
someone to them. But if they're interested in history or architecture or
Mhm.
culture, they'll send them to me. So throughout
Okay.
the 19 years I've been in business, I've been able to cultivate those relationships. But about 75 to 80% of my constituents are basically tourists from other
Okay.
countries.
Other
Yeah,
countries.
I only have maybe 5% United States tourists. And I think that's just a matter of marketing. The
Okay.
Airbnbs and the hotels that I have
Mhm.
these relationships with, they really don't get a lot of American tourists. So
Okay.
that's what I'm
Okay.
trying
Got
to
it.
do by doing interviews like
Mhm.
this and
Okay.
going on social media to
Mhm.
expand my reach to the
Right.
50 United States.
Okay. I love it, because as I'm hearing you speak, and I know before I jump to that, I'd like you to share, because I also in listening heard about some of the kinds of tours that you do and the topics. I even heard that you do like a Black Lives Matter, and you bring up a lot of the current issues and places and spaces that we're dealing with. So if you could share a little bit about that, because I found that to be extremely unique. And then it would be interesting to know how uh, folks that are coming from other countries, like what they learn, how they receive it, and all of that. So,
Yeah, in order to evolve, in order to keep up with the times, you have to evolve. And the one thing the pandemic did do is force us into almost an involuntary evolution. So yes, I did have to incorporate a Black Lives Matter movement tour,
Mm.
and we talk about Eric Garner, and we go to places in Harlem where there were movements that have been forgotten about, but they were recently in the 90s.
Mm.
So there's a place where everyone knows about Mart 125, where it used to be a famous store, Frank's, right
Okay.
next to a famous
Yes.
record bar, and how you had
Yes.
a guy walk in and tell all Black people to get out
Mhm.
because he was going to shoot up some of the workers that he felt betrayed the African American race. Some of them were Puerto Rican, some of them were
Wow. Wow.
Dominican. So we
Wow.
talk about things like that that really haven't been discussed. And
Mm.
it's not 45, it's not 62, that was
Mm.
95.
Wow. 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 Yeah. So there's a lot here. Now, in doing your chores, and of course, as you said, you're keeping up with the times, but in doing your chores, what do you really see? What stands out in terms of change? Is it the people that are doing the tours, the kinds of tours that you're doing? And you're doing a lot in Harlem. How has Harlem changed? For the better, the good, the bad, the ugly, the best? What do you see? Because walking, we always, and I believe your tours are walking tours. I don't know, do you have people hopping off on and off a bus here in Harlem? But I think when you walk, you see things other people don't see. And so thank you for sharing with Harlem Network News.
Absolutely. Yes, we have hop on and off tours. We do have a bus that can pick you up from the airport, take you to your
All
hotel
right now,
room, and come back and pick you up. And we call that the curbside
all
service.
right
So
now.
we do have curbside service. As a matter of fact, yesterday I did a couples soul food date night tour. So we went to various restaurants, and we went all the way from the Caribbean to Africa to South Carolina to Texas. We went all throughout Harlem, and we basically supported our small Black businesses. And then, as far as the question about what I've noticed, the biggest change I've seen are the questions.
Mm, okay.
The questions that my guests have
Mhm.
are real.
Okay.
They come from hours of research. They
Mm,
come from days of intense preparation for this tour. And the questions let me know they're with us. They let me know that what can I do
mhm,
as a white woman from Sweden? What can I do
mm,
as a white man from Ireland? What can I do? So I always tell them, whatever you do, if you can take notes and take these conversations that we're having back
mhm.
home, and don't just have them with the children who are innocent and know nothing, have them with your parents.
Right,
Furthermore, have them with your grandparents
right.
who remember this and probably have selective amnesia.
Mhm. Okay. I love it. I like it. Um, and where is Harlem in the spectrum? And when I say in the spectrum, I always think that like when tourists come from around the world,
Mhm.
first stop, Times Square, second stop, Harlem. Is that true?
It definitely is true now. When I started being a tour guide in 2003, no, I wouldn't say as much. I would say it would be Times Square, Wall Street, Greenwich Village, and then Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
now I can honestly say, for the first time in 19 years, I
Wow.
will run into about 4 other tour guides every tour.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So
So,
Harlem has moved up in relevance as well as an attraction
mhm.
from a tourism point of view.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. And we're moving on. We're getting towards our end. But we are so grateful that Lady Altovise of Lady Altovise Tours was able to join us and shed a little light and share a little bit. Lady Altovise, I gather from you that your tours have a great and social consciousness. So how do you feel that you are helping to, I would say, improve the quality of life in Harlem, improve the perspective that the world has of Harlem, because the world knows about Harlem? And how are you, Lady Altovise, making a difference? And how are you set apart from other tour guides?
If I have to give myself a lane, I
Mhm,
will say the lane that was carved out for me as a mother
mhm,
and as a Black woman.
mhm,
I do not hesitate when it comes to a conversation about nurturing Mother Earth and
mhm.
civilization. We are the mother of civilization.
Okay.
Not that I'm a mother, but I do feel as if I have an innate ability to tap into a person's inner being where they are wondering, where do I stand?
Mhm,
How can I contribute? And I feel by me being a tour guide, I
mhm,
have a way to have an intimate conversation
mhm,
with a one-on-one basis as to when you get back on the plane,
mhm.
you have a plan.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I think that's a t-shirt. Lady Altovise Tour. When you get back on the plane, you have a
You
plan.
have a plan. I love that, because everything is I don't know, maybe it's just this week. Like I said, I was at the homegoing for Kwame Braithwaite, who had a very significant uh event at the New York Historical Society, Black is Beautiful, and all of that. But it's always like, what is your responsibility now? What is your
Yeah.
task? And so I think that you are giving your tourists some marching orders.
Yeah.
They took your tour, and now they've got to, you know, they got some homework. They
That's
got
right. You got a
tasks.
plan.
They got a
Hmm.
job. They got to make something happen. So I think that's wonderful. I would love to know how and where and when on the tours does the singing happen, or the dancing, or do you take them to gospel show? What happens? Jazz?
Well, I do have not right now, but I did produce a history of gospel tour because I got so many questions about gospel. And I did a tour where we went from the slave ship all
Mhm.
the way to Mary and Kirk Franklin.
Wow.
And that was at the National Black Theater. And then when the National Black
Wow.
Theater was being renovated, I
Mhm.
went into some of the churches. So I ran that for about 5 years. But
Okay.
as far as the performances, the reason why I chose from Tennessee not to go to Los Angeles and to
Mhm.
New York is because I
Mhm.
want the instant gratification. I
Mhm.
want the authentic approval. So my tours are honestly about 6 hours worth of material cramped into
Wow.
2 hours.
Wow.
So I constantly stop the tour and say, any questions? And I let the questions
Mhm.
of the tourists determine the tour.
Okay.
So if there are a lot of questions about fashion, we'll go there. If we're talking about architecture,
Mhm.
we'll go there. If we're talking about hair, we'll go there. If we're talking about racism, we'll go there. If
Mhm.
we're talking about lynching. So I do have a passion to where every morning I went to the Frederick Douglass Museum, and I found out he studied in his library every day for 2 hours.
The
And
Frederick
when I
Douglass Museum.
yes, in DC, and I said,
All right now.
what does it cost me to wake up an
Mhm.
extra few hours and study for 2 hours? Nothing.
Mhm.
So I do that every single day. And I find that that 2 hour study session turns into like a meditation, and it puts me into a space to be open for
Mm.
whatever the day
Right.
brings,
To be a
whatever the
vessel,
question.
you're channeling. You're channeling.
That's what I hope to be. That's what I hope to be.
Okay.
That's what I hope to be.
Okay. Well, with all this greatness, Lady Altovise and Lady Altovise Tours, and like I said, I constantly learn something about New York City being second in slavery up to 1827. My
Yeah.
mind is blown away. And now you said that Frederick Douglass took 2 hours of study. So it's something to really look at. But how is business? How is business? I know we're post-COVID, but how is business? How is business for you versus some of the other tours? And I'm saying that in a sense that we represent Harlem and Harlems of the world. So we're very interested in the small businesses. We're very interested in Black entrepreneurship, Black woman entrepreneurship, Black man entrepreneurship. We're interested in that because there are a lot of disparities in this country for people of color. So how is business for you? And what can we do to help you?
I can honestly say business is booming.
All right.
For me personally, better than ever. Better than ever because I've tapped into the world of academia. And they want the information that's not in the books. The stuff I talk about on my tour, you're not going to find Black Wall Street in that book. You're not going to find the Devil's Punch Bowl in that book. You're not going to find the book, the Wilmington Lie. You're not going to find Rosewood.
All
So
right.
this is where I tapped into the world of academia because they're craving the wisdom. They want the knowledge, and I just want to be, like you said, a vessel. And I can honestly say, by me bumping into, I'm like literally, we're sharing the sidewalk.
Mhm.
We're like bobbing and
Other tour
weaving
guide. Okay.
with other tour guides. So normally where I would talk about a mural, or I talk about the Jazz Museum, or I'll talk about Billie Holiday's at Bill's place, I'll be there for 10 minutes. Now I have to cut that down to 5.
Wow.
Because
And
we
that's
all
because
have a time schedule and I
I
have to
see.
adhere to it. So
Okay.
yeah, we're bumping into each other now. That's never, maybe once a week, like on a Saturday of Easter or
Mhm.
Juneteenth. But now I find myself running into about 4 other tour companies
Okay.
a day.
Wow.
And I told my friend, he was like, "Oh, I saw another tour guide." I was like, "Baby, a tour company in Harlem is like a barbershop. It's like a beauty salon."
Right. And
It's-
sometimes more is more. Like, in certain places, like where there's like Restaurant Row, or even if you go to like North Williamsburg, that's over the top and off the chain now, it's the new
yeah,
Greenwich Village. And because there's so many restaurants, people just restaurant hop, they bar hop, tour hop, so
yeah.
that's a good energy.
And
Look
I
how
try
much
to
is in
focus
Times
on
Square.
small Black businesses. So if you're shopping, I try to point out the ateliers. If you're going to a restaurant, I try to point out the Black owned restaurants. If you are, I just focus on Black businesses. I try my best to make sure those doors stay open, because we do have this stigma where if you're successful, you're a sellout, or you're bending over in some way. And I find it disheartening when people have something to say about our more established restaurants and they don't want to support them as a local. And I'm like, the day you wake up and
Mhm.
that restaurant is not there, don't you shed one tear, because
Right.
you didn't
You
spend
didn't
$1.
support. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think that you're saying, as they say, dropping knowledge, and you're saying some viable things. And as we are speaking, this is Harlem Network News. I've had the pleasure to be here with Lady Altovise of Lady Altovise Tours, and she does a lot of focus on Harlem and history and all of that. And I just think it's what the things that you're saying, my wheels are turning, because I'm thinking you probably need to do some tours for some local Harlemites and local New York
Oh my
Cityites.
God, I would love that.
Yeah,
If
you
you
gotta do
could make
that.
sure
Yeah,
that the people of Harlem, the Harlem community, and
right.
here's the thing, I was not born here. So a
Mhm,
lot of people feel as if, who is she to
mhm.
tell me? But
But you've done your study, you've done your homework.
most people that live in New York City, they kind of take it for granted. Like
Right.
that's just a random 128th Street. No, that's the 128th Street. That's where the brothel was, where Harlem Nights was
Yeah.
inspired. So,
See, I keep on learning, but I think that might be a niche like for Harlem people because
oh,
we
I
all
would
don't
love
know
that.
everything, and that's why Harlem Network News is here so we can learn more about what's going on. And
Yes.
as we're going, I just also want to send out prayers. I heard just today when I was at the homegoing that Alton Maddox, the attorney, passed away on Saturday. And that's
Oh,
an
wow.
iconic figure. That was the whole Tawana Brawley.
The
He,
Al Sharpton, yeah.
yeah, he was disbarred based on this and never got reciprocity for it. He and C. Vernon Mason. So these are our unsung heroes. So I'm just saying that to say that a lot of times we don't know what's going on around the corner. And the other thing where the wheels are really turning, just in terms of what's going on in our schools, here in Harlem, Central Harlem, our schools are separate but not equal. 99.99% of the children in our public schools are black and brown children, and they are not learning the same way that others are learning. They don't have the same supplies that other children are having. So we need to look at that because these are public schools. And this is a fact
Right.
brought out during the pandemic when they didn't have broadband, they didn't have the computers, they're not getting the Chromebooks to take home, so we've got to look at that. But I think you could probably do something even with the children.
Absolutely.
Sesame Street,
Absolutely.
who are the people in your neighborhood?
I'm a strong
So,
component for education. My son is a graduate of Jeffrey Canada's Harlem Children's Zone. So I do understand that the charter school is a hot
right,
topic. And
right,
when I
yes,
talk about that man, Jeffrey Canada, I cannot stop singing his praises for the
okay.
sacrifice. And I met him in '04, but I just found out a couple of weeks ago, no, his journey started in the '80s, in the '90s.
Yeah,
I mean, this man went to Alex Haley's farm
wow.
and got his mind together with other civil rights leaders of the
Mm,
'80s and the '90s. And they came up with
mm,
ways because he hated that he had to have a waiting list. He
okay.
hated that he had to turn children away.
Mm,
So when my son graduated, valedictorian, my baby,
oh, clap it up, of
he
course.
graduated, he actually was given laptops from Apple. He
Okay,
was given Texas Instrument calculators. And
right,
that was
right.
because of Jeffrey Canada going out getting
Mhm.
13
Right.
million, 14 million, 15 million.
Yes.
So if you're a product of the New York City public school system, sometimes you feel as if you might be slighted, and we have to do something about that.
Yeah, we
Like
have
if
to
you don't,
because there's much money that is being pumped
yes,
into these school systems. And the question is, what is happening? And the answer is our children are losing. And
oh
we
my God.
cannot, cannot have that because that translates into crime. It translates into drug abuse, mental illness, and
Yes.
the pipeline to school, the pipeline to prison.
The
And
after school
that's real
programs.
complex.
Like,
Yeah,
even if you are not a fan of reading and arithmetic and history, you got to keep your grades up so you can be a part of the dance team or a double
absolutely.
dutch or
Right,
in the
right.
band. So when they cut these programs, what do I have to go to school for? That's why I feel like me as a product of post-collegiate education, if I
Mm,
can go into a school and volunteer my services and teach girls how to dance or teach girls how to sing or recite monologues, I would be glad to. If anybody in your audience needs
okay.
someone with a degree, someone
Mhm.
with 20 years of professional, international
Okay.
trained experience, I volunteer my services.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Lady
Somebody
Altovise.
did that for
Like I
me.
said,
I have to pay it back.
I just got like a ding in the sense that I was saying because you're doing these tours, some of our children, and it's not just Harlem, sometimes people tend to stay local. So
Yeah.
a lot of times there are children here in Harlem who have never been downtown. There are children that really don't go off their block. So there's a wealth of things happening right here in Harlem, from
Yes.
river to river, you know, from there's boats that go up and down, you know. So I just think there's a lot viable in terms of what you can do, particularly because of the history and also because of the acculturation.
Absolutely. And I have a van, and maybe we could meet with the parents and we can take them and
Okay,
have sushi. We can take them
love
and
it.
have some Jewish food. Let's go to
Okay,
all over the world. New
okay.
York has it.
Right, it is. Well, I love it. And what is your wish list for your tours? Give us your wish list. This is Queen for a Day here on Harlem Network News.
My wish would be the ambassador to the ambassadors. In a perfect world, I would be the tour guide to take the ambassadors from all over the world at the United Nations and
Mhm.
show them Black culture, show them New York City culture, and let them have the time of their lives after they have made some life-changing, stressful decisions. We'll go and listen to some good music, have some good food, buy some pretty clothes, and then, I don't know, take some nice pictures.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
my
well,
wish.
you got it. Queen for a Day. We'll see if Harlem Network News can make that happen. That's a very innovative thought. And Lady Altovise, as we sign off, please let us know how folks can get in touch with you, where they can find out more about you and the tours that you do, how they can sign up. And it's fortunate that there's good things and bad things about social media and the internet and where we are, but news and information, as my daughter Maya coined it, she was like, we're in a technical revolution.
We
So
are.
how can
We
folks
are.
get in touch with you? We had the Industrial Revolution.
Right. I was just about to say that.
This is
Now
the
we're in techno.
revolution. We got
So if you would like to reach out to me, my website is www.ladyaltovise, and that's spelled A-L-T as in Tom, O-V as in Victor, I-S-E.com, like Sammy Davis Jr.'s wife. I was named after Altovise Davis. So
all right.
ladyaltovise.com, or if you are on Instagram, just remember my handle is Harlem's favorite lady.
All right. Okay. I
So
love
if
it.
I could just have one last note with your listeners, if you see me in the street and I'm discussing something that happened in Harlem on that particular corner that happened before you were born, please don't tell me I'm making up history. No, I'm reciting history. If I'm talking about something in the 1700s that happened here with the Native Americans, if I'm talking about something that happened in the 20s, in the 40s, a guy literally interrupted my tour with a young group of 8th graders from Jamaica in
Mm.
front of Hotel Teresa and said, she lied. She don't know what she's talking about. That's a crack house. That was a trap house. Maybe it was.
Oh my goodness.
But
Oh
I'm
my
talking
goodness.
about
Don't say
Hotel Teresa.
Hotel Teresa, because we know that that's where Fidel Castro stayed when he came to New York City, because they wouldn't let him stay anyplace else. He was right here in Harlem.
He had his
Nikita
live
Khrushchev,
chickens.
the president of Russia at the time, met him right up
Okay.
here in Harlem. So we
He's
got
not
a
gonna
lot of
trust nobody's cooking. He got his chickens with him.
come on home to Harlem. So we're going to let you close us out, Lady Altovise. Let's be creative. This is Harlem Network News. Please stay tuned. Join us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We need your support, donations, ideas for shows, spreading the word to other people. That's what is going to keep Harlem Network News on the air.
That's right. Come and see me. Come and see me. Lady Altovise NYC Tours. I love to do date night. I love to do your parents' anniversary. I love to do something for your teenage children who only have those earbuds in their ears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Will's a turning. And I love it. And thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for joining us. And this is a pact. This is a partnership.
Yes.
Network News and Lady Altovise and Lady Altovise Tours.
Sheer delight. Thank you so much.
So goes Harlem. So goes the world. James Baldwin. Or whatever.
Yes.
That would never. Marcus Messiah Garvey. Yes.
God bless you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Blessings. Blessings.